percentage of Nebraska's corn in good to excellent condition held steady over the last week at 63%. The latest progress report from Nebraska's National Agricultural Statistics Service listed 28% dented, 8 points behind the state's 5-year average. Nebraska Extension plant pathologist Tamra Jackson-Ziems joined us earlier this week to give a disease update as farmers approach the final stretch of the growing season. We started by asking about the spread of southern rust.
So this year, as you probably remember, we've talked a lot about southern rust, and we were pretty alarmed when it showed up in Nebraska at least a couple of weeks early, according to the calendar. And in the end, the good news is that while we may have a little bit of it in a lot of places, there's not apparently a lot of it anywhere, or not in many places, and so it did not develop to the extent we thought it could, probably held back by the cooler temperatures we've had the last few weeks, and so that worked in our favor.
At this point in the season, would it be too late to treat it either way?
Most fields are probably beyond that, and so any fields that are in the dent stages, it's probably not economical to treat. If we have some late planted fields that are in dough stages, there's a potential there, but honestly, with the cooler forecast ahead, we don't really expect it to blow up like we did earlier.
Have you seen a lot of gray leaf spot?
Well, gray leaf spot in much of the state where we'd normally see it has started to develop now, and it is marching its way up the plant. And so the extra moisture we've had lately has probably helped to drive that, the extra dew and high humidity. Cooler temperatures will also slow that down a little bit. Of course, some parts of the state are a little warmer than others, probably see a little bit of it there. And so some people have treated for gray leaf spot, but again, the crop stage is going to determine that.
Describe what bacterial leaf streak has been like this season.
Well, this year, in many ways like last year, we saw bacterial leaf streak develop very early, and in fact we actually confirmed it on plants as young as the 4th leaf stage, very small corn. And so in places it developed early, in others it may have developed a little bit later, but it is flaring up in quite a few areas. It's very hybrid dependent though, and so some fields may be seeing more of it than others, and of course that varies between popcorn and field corn too.
UNL, along with some other universities, has some money, grant funding now to study this. What exactly will we be looking at?
Well, we're very excited about a lot of the research projects that we've initiated and that we're collaborating with some of our neighboring states' researchers on. And so, for example, we have a project looking at the impacts of crop rotation and tillage practices in various parts of the state on this disease. And while we don't expect it to eliminate disease pressure, we're just wondering at the effects of some of the practices we're already using on the disease development, and that is funded and supported by USDA, and we appreciate that support. We're also continuing to work on our survey of the disease, really trying to get a better handle on where it is in the state, and so the Nebraska Corn Board has helped us sponsor that, and at this point we've confirmed it in 56 counties in Nebraska. And so certainly we're probably going to find it eventually in some of those other counties. And so as people start to see it in some of their areas, and if they haven't seen it before, we'd surely like to know about that and get some samples.
The last time we talked to you had been looking at other crops outside of corn that might be a host for this. Do you know any more about that?
And so over the wintertime, we did a lot of work in the greenhouse with bacterial leaf streak, looking to see what other plant species might be vulnerable to it, to help us understand which ones might actually provide a reservoir of the bacteria or another overwintering site. And so one of our graduate students, Tara Hartman, and other members of our lab did that work. And so what they've learned is that it looks like under our testing conditions in the greenhouse, oats look to be susceptible, at least the variety that we worked with. And so if you're working with a cover crop that may have oats in it, we might want to look at that for disease development. Now these are greenhouse data, and so we have moved that out to the field, and by this fall we'll know more about those results. But we're also finding that some of our common weed species and our native prairie grasses did develop disease too. And so some of those might be bristly foxtail, green foxtail, and a surprise, yellow nutsedge, which is not a grass at all. And so that, in addition to big blue stem, little blue stem, orchard grass, Indian grass, and timothy, may all provide a host for this bacterium, but we don't know yet how important that will be in the field for contributing to disease development later in corn.